Hi, welcome to Control Talk Now. This is episode 231 for the week ending July 9th, 2017. The 4th of July is over. We have independence from proprietary systems, or at least we're getting there, so it's very apropos. And join me in bringing on our co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers, the control man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. Yeah, the summer's cruising by now. We're going to get some more floods up here in the Northeast. We're just getting an incredible abundance of rain, overabundance. And I'm sure
we are too, dude.
Yeah, what's going on, huh? You guys doing something down there, experiments we're not aware of down there in Atlanta that are affecting our North American weather?
No, dude, I think it's Trump and the Russians, man. They're rigging the election and they're rigging the rainfall, man. So that's what they're up to. So stay
away. He's doing his best to keep everything going there at the G20. They're having some real issues over there in Hamburg.
Well, dude, I tell you what, it's like he didn't, once you got to admire about him, whether you agree with him or disagree with him, you know exactly where he stands. He's not political, as near as I can tell. He's certainly not duplicitous, as near as I can tell. So, I mean, it's just what you see is what you get. And you kind of got to like that. But how do you think he's rigging this global raining thing, man?
No, I'll tell you what, I had
or actually, that's probably the other party that's done that.
Well, there is a phenomenon. William Safire, the old political pundit, he's a great linguist too, but he did research on the global warming thing, and he went back into the archives, and one of the greatest sources of temperatures and global warming effects or impacts, or the perceived impacts, was the sailors that used to follow the whales or the whaling industry, and they went all over the world, following the currents, and they would change these currents because they would dip their little water collecting like buckets into the depths of the ocean and then take the temperature readings, and by then the captain would know which way he's going to go because he's going to follow these warm water currents and whatever. And the bottom line was that the way our universe is set up, the way the sun's in the middle and the way the Earth's out there, and you've got Jupiter and Saturn, the closer they get in alignment, and as the Earth goes in its orbit around the sun, these two big old giant planets try to pull us out of our orbit. And the impact is measurable to inches. At one time he said it was a 4-inch wobble that occurred to the Earth on its axis. That 4-inch wobble translates into massive changes to our ocean currents and our air currents, and where the Arctic winds engage the equatorial winds. It was just a fascinating article. Unfortunately, he passed away.
But you bring up a great point, Kenny, because I tell you what, where there's change, there's opportunity. That's sort of conventional wisdom if you think about it, right?
Right.
But if there's change, to create the opportunity, you have to create the story. You have to create the dialogue, right? So it's like, you get some extra rain, somebody's going to come up with global raining, right? And we're going to have to, they're going to sell rain suits, or they're going to sell something, or tell us to start using more water. But, I think all those are cyclical changes. And, as one of my teachers, Marshall Thurber, used to say, there are two types of changes. There's a cyclical change, like the stock market or the lengthened ties or skirts or fashion is cyclical. And then there's a structural change. And a structural change, when that takes place, you have to embrace it or die. With a cyclical change, your strategy is basically, you just try to time the cycles, right? You try to buy low, sell high, and sell when it gets high, like I said. So I wonder if the environment is cyclical, and that's what I think you're alluding to here, is that throughout history we've had all kinds of global changes in terms of temperature and water. I mean, hell, at one point in time, there was even an ice age, and we got to start over, right? If you believe scientists. So, but I think maybe that where the opportunities come in, or maybe where the mistake is saying this is a structural change, right? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. It's obviously good for us to believe it is, because the better temperature control
I think
you get.
in the city. Well, but you're right. It's combinations layered now, because remember the first time I flew into Chicago and the first time I flew into LA, and they talked about smog. And remember the city of Chicago had their ambient reading for CO was over 40 parts per million. Mm-hmm. In other words, because of the tremendous metropolitan size, the gargantuan collection of people, and back then we weren't really on top of CO2 emissions and whatever. We did create a lot of poisonous environments. And living in Pittsburgh, one of the cities that's infamous for having one of its rivers catch on fire from all the pollutions put in there and combining, we actually had a floating fire come down. It was on television, and that scared everybody severely. And that's when we had our great transition around 1974. We started seeing all the steel mills close down because the EPA came in and said no more. And so there is certainly that impact. So I mean, we certainly have to be good stewards of our environment, and that's what we're all about. I mean, we're into green now, we're into sustainability, we're into zero net energy, and those are all good things. But that's not going to change rain. That's not going to change.
Well, no, I don't think so. And I'm sort of leading up to something, Kenny, because I think that there's so many choices. We've talked a lot about this vis-a-vis the smart building controls and the smart building controls renaissance. There's so many choices, so many players. And again, I'll repeat this because I think it's very, very valid. I mean, if you don't have a great product, you're not even in the conversation right now. There are tons of great products out there. If you don't have, great pricing and great customer support, great tech support, you're not even in the conversation because there's tons of companies out there that have all that. So you have all these equal companies with these great competitively priced products that are well supported. So I think one of the cyclical changes we're seeing now, or maybe it's even a structural change, is what differentiate those. And I think the winner goes to, as we've talked about, the person that can have the messaging, the person that can have the conversation, the person that can take all those choices, hear what an owner's asking for, truncate it down, and provide the solution. That is the differentiator. So salespeople, right, are more critical now than they have ever been. And
absolutely,
we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the show, but we had Mark Jewell on last week, and Mark Jewell is the guy. He is the coach. He is the guy. If you got to go fight in a heavyweight fight, pick your event, pick your metaphor. This is the guy you want in your corner. This is the guy that you want training you, because again, the other thing that I tell my salespeople, Kenny, is, there are two variables, two things that we're all short on right now. Every single one of us on the planet, right? Well, at least in our world, is time and attention, right? So people don't have time to think about stuff much. I mean, they got so much on their plate, right? They don't have time, and they cannot make a decision. They absolutely don't want to make a decision. And I can tell you now that I'm the CEO of Stromquist and Company, I get vendors calling me all the time, and they call up. And the first thing I'm doing in my head is I'm going, what can they say so I get rid of them as quickly as possible, right? I mean, nice. It's reality. And I think I'm being on the other side of it. We know that. So it's kind of like, how do you get that first 10 seconds, captivate somebody where you can get the next minute and a half, and then in that next minute and a half, captivate them where you can get the appointment. And then when you're at the appointment where you can actually close the sale. I mean, how do you do that? And, you would think, people say, well, salespeople are born, they're not made. And I would 1,000% disagree with that. Okay.
Sure, because everything that you see has changed. The technology, the learning. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but we just had a conversation yesterday with another guy, and we talked about Orrin Claff and the pitch, because you're so right. In other words, his two things is why I'm here to talk to you is introduction of new technology that's game changing, introduction of market changes that have made things very competitive in the availability of them, and three is that the people that are in charge have a responsibility to keep their organizations and their facilities functioning at peak levels at the standards that are available. They have a responsibility.
Right. Well, I want to cycle back around. I want to stay on this thought for a minute, and I think you're absolutely right on it because you and I have read a lot of the same books, but Mark really crystallizes. So, conventional wisdom. I've taken every sales course in the friggin' world. Okay, that was my domain since the '80s. So I've been through them all, right? And so conventional wisdom was always, well, Kenny, tell me about your business, right? And then there was a time when that worked. Tell me about your business and tell me about your problems, and then I'll figure out how we can solve your problems. Guess what? People don't have, and Mark will teach you this, people do not have time for that anymore. If somebody calls me and says, tell me about your business, go on Google and figure it out. I don't have time to tell you about my friggin' business. Now, if somebody calls me up and says, hey, I notice you're a distributor and you're doing this, this, and this. This is where you're probably losing money, and this is how you can make money. If you got 5 minutes, I can tell you how to fix that, okay? But getting access, because we don't have the time, we don't have the attention. So how do you earn the right to get the time? How do you capture their attention? And man, I tell my people, and I'll tell anybody, listen, sales, especially in this industry, is the easiest job in the world to do poorly, and the hardest world in the job to do correctly. And I think anybody that has salespeople and pays them would agree with that. And it's not just that, you can have great technical people that are well-intended and work hard, but if they don't have the right techniques, they're not going to be successful. And another Marshall Thurberism is correct theory plus effort equals profound results, right? So you can have all the effort in the world, but if you're not using the correct theory, you're not going to get great results. You can have the correct theory, but if you don't put the effort in, you're not going to get them. And I would argue that 99.9% of our people in our industry are big time on effort. I mean, the effort's there. They're putting the effort in, but they don't have the proper technique or the proper theory. And so what I'm getting at again is our friend Mark Jewell has offered the Control Trends community, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in the show, a very, very, very special offer. He works with some of the major vendors and helps them come up with what to say, how to say it, when to say it, proven techniques that will help you close sales. And I mean, if you talk to Mark and you look at some of the major companies, the people that are their number one salespeople, their President's Club people, are people that have taken his courses, embraced it, and used the techniques. Now, it used to be you'd have to either have a vendor that would bring you in, like Honeywell did an EOE program that Mark spoke at. That's where I first got exposed to him. Or you have to spend $4,000 or $5,000 and go someplace. And Mark, for the first time, is he's going to live stream one of his events. Right, it's the first time he's ever done it. He reached out to us because he wanted to make the offer available to our Control Trends community. It's global, so you can be, our friends in India can get on this. Any place. He's offering a discount with Control Trends. We have a link on the website where you can go and take care of this, get this additional discount. But and then he's got the video follow-up, so you can participate live, you can watch the videos afterwards, and then he has a network of people where you can have access to markup for quite a period of time. So if you got a tough situation, you can call Mark up. He can give you proper techniques and proper theory to deal with those situations. But anyway, Kenny, I'm sort of going on a lot about this, but I'm just so pumped up about it, so excited about it, because I've been to this guy's workshop. I've been to so many people's workshops, and this guy is tuned in. And if you're an owner and you start thinking about the expense, my biggest expense right now outside of health insurance for my employees is my outside salespeople when they're going out cold calling, right? I mean, you got to have them, and they got to be prepared once there's an opportunity. But having my outside salespeople create opportunities. A technical salesperson is one of your most expensive, things in your company. And if you can have those guys be 10%, 20%, 30% more effective, your bottom line is going to benefit tremendously.
Right, Eric. So I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm on Mark Jewell's website, the Efficiency Sales Professional Boot Camp, July 24th through the 27th, 2017. As you can see, in residence attendance is $3,500 plus your logistics to get there and the time away from work. So what happens to us in our busy worlds is that if you make an incremental investment of the special deal, we have $920 on a Control Trends site. What happens is you could take it live, virtual. They're going to be streaming it, so you can get that, and then you have access to it in the archival state. So at your leisure, you can do it. And as I prepare again for a lot of the presentations we have to do, and we're getting more and more engaged because, like you said, selling is the thing that's keeping us in the game. We know now how to marry up, a need with demand, needs with who can provide services. We're sorting through all this incredible avalanche of choices. Well, so what I do is I go to Mark's site. I'm able to get that really smart, concise pep talk on how to sell. And this is designed at our industry. So if you have a sales force out there, and it doesn't matter if you're in England, Holland, Italy, we all know from different things, it's pretty much the same. You might have different languages and different things, but we have a common denominator, and that is moving air and water and making people comfortable and saving energy. And this is a great boot camp that's just designed to make you understand how people react to, like you said, cold calling, how you talk about the different buckets and how you could be in the wrong bucket, emphasizing technique and all your technical and features and benefits, and the guys literally shut you off. Like you said, how can I get this guy out of my office? And no, I certainly don't want another appointment. So you need to make you need to tell your story and make it relevant. Absolutely.
Well, and then the other thing that's great about it too is Mark teaches you how to talk to everybody from the CEO to the technical guys. And of course, to your point, Kenny, Mark has done and worked with people like Honeywell, Bolimo. So he knows what an energy valve is. He knows what a building automation system is. He knows the benefits that these guys have. He'll teach you things like, for example, most people ask you what's the ROI on this, return on investment. Mark will tell you how to debunk that. That's absolutely the worst possible indicator that you can use. And if somebody is judging your proposal based on ROI, Mark will tell you how to explain to them that doesn't make sense and what they need to base it on. He'll give you enough accounting, so if the financial guy is throwing financial terms at you, you know exactly how to handle that. But you really have to prepare, your messaging for different people in the organization. And, this gets right hand in glove if you think about it with what our folks at Intelligent Buildings, Tom Shurtleff and Rob Murchison have talked about. I mean, their whole thing is based on the fact that for a project to really work in the smart building controls renaissance, you have to have all the different players, the different stakeholders. You need to be able to bring them together, right, and have them on the same page. And so this, in essence, is one of the things you're going to learn to do. You cannot talk to the same stakeholders the same way. And most people get so intimidated by the CEO, right, or the CFO when they come in, and we just start spouting, technical gibberish, which is the worst damn thing in the world you can do. I mean, especially the higher up you get, you have to really zero in on what's important to them, and not asking them what's important to them necessarily, but helping them discover what's important to them. This gets back to our friend Scott Cochran, right, and Paul Oswald. All the greats in our industries that are successful do this.
Right, sure.
It's the, you can't expect your customers to know. I mean, they'll have ideas of what they want. You have to discover why they want them, and then you have to really guide them. Does it make sense or does it not make sense?
Well, to your point about the different conversations that you had to have with different stakeholders, I was just recently in a meeting as of like last week, and I sensed that as soon as I walked in, because I mean, typically, when you go into projects, of the size and nature that we deal with, you've got politics inherent into an organization. You got stakeholders that are protecting. It's like a fiefdom, and then you got people in different levels of their careers. You got some guys that are young and really hep and got a real smart house, and they expect this to be at work. You got guys that are, in their autumn of their careers, and then what they want to do is they want to do a good job and leave on a good note, but they certainly don't want to undertake a massive, gut-wrenching project. So you got to know who's doing what, and then create that sheet of music that everybody's talking the same thing. Keep reducing a conversation into what is our primary goals and how we're going to get there, and reverse engineer some of that track work that you're going to do, and use the magic wand to, if you had your very first wish, what would it be? Like I liked some of the tactics that Scott was talking about. You put a question mark on a piece of paper and you say, okay, what is our end game? And let's talk about the time and money, and we'll work our way back to get you the first things first. So it's great stuff. Mark does a heck of a job, and we got a great link on there. And again, the thing about this one is it doesn't have that time consequence where if you miss it, you lost out. What happens here is you have access to it, and people that are web-based and train themselves very astutely and at the convenience. Some people, like you were just talking how busy you are at your household. Imagine if you were planning to go out there and all of a sudden these things happen to you and you missed it, or you schedule it. You're committed to funds, so you're like, and then when you start it, you might get interrupted and for a long period of time, but you didn't lose anything because you come back to that. So we're seeing a lot of web-based training. I mean, Siemens introduced a great one, and Honeywell has them, and Schneider Electric has them, but I'm used to them now. I mean, I actually look forward to it when I get my cup of coffee here and I can sit down and everything's quiet. Then I really and truly dig into it, and I think it's immensely beneficial. Yeah,
quiet. Lucky you, quiet. I was telling Kenny earlier on that my wife Anna's best friend is in the country. She lives in France, French Guiana, and she has two small children that are Evie and Axel's age, 4 and 2. And, you think in theory, okay, you got two best friends that, are moms. I mean, with those two moms, they'll be able to double team these kids. It'll be cool. It'll all be great. She's staying for 2 weeks. Dude, this is one of those things that in theory sounds good. In practicality, it is absolutely bonkers. So now instead of help my wife put down my kid, I have to help this woman put down her kids too. And it is unfriggin' believable. But I will tell you, my son, Axel, he's a little badass. He's 2. So the other girl's daughter is a little bit bigger than Evie. She's a little bit older, and she is, I think, they're in the country, they're jet lagged, but she's a pusher, she's a biter, she's a hitter, and she's been trying to beat on Evie a little bit, and Axel stepped right in and says, no, leave my sister alone. So you got to love seeing that stuff. But anyway, if I seem a little crazy right now, Kenny, it's because I am.
No, that's all part of the gamut. You don't control every environment variable, and then that's why flexibility, and that's why IoT, and that's why our new world, and changing that messaging, and knowing the people now that have this kind of they're ingrained and are indoctrinated into the new smart stuff, and they have a new world and they have a new paradigm. They want to have different. They want more accessible things at their speed, at their preferences, and that really changes what we do.
Well, no, I think it does, and I think the other thing too that not just market. We've been calling this for a while. We've been talking about the messaging for a while, so it's really, really fortuitous that Mark looked us up and is making this available to our community, because he is he is a game changer, I think. And but it is, again, I quote my teacher Marshall Thurber again. He said that different is not always better, but better is always different. And I think that's one of the things that especially as a sales rep, you have to be memorable, right? And you have to, so like, for example, one of the techniques that we use with our folks, and this isn't Mark's, this is one of ours, was that, and this, that there's a thing called frequency of interaction. I mean, there's certain people, you call on them and you get X period of time. Like some people, you call them the first time, they'll give you an order. Other people, you got to call them 3 or 4 times before they'll even give you a chance to quote them, right? So back when I had this setup where I would go in and I would see you, and I would deliberately not bring catalogs in or anything like that. I'd always leave something behind, and then, we'd have our conversation, and I'd go, Kenny, would you like a Honeywell CD or catalog? And you go, yeah, for sure. And I would specifically go, okay, Kenny, I promise I will get that to you by Tuesday. And that immediately sets me apart, because how many salespeople make promises, actually use the word promises? So I want to demonstrate to him that I keep my promises, or her. So that would be, interaction one would be the face-to-face. I had a box of, thank you notes. I would write a thank you note. Hey, Ken, thanks so much for your time today. Had the stamp. I'd drop that in the post box as soon as I left your building. Then I get back to the office. I would send you the catalog, right? Hey, Kenny, it's so nice meeting you. As promised, here is the Honeywell catalog I promised I would get you. And then I would call you Tuesday afternoon to make sure you got it. So I got 4 interactions within the space of one event. So, things like that. But it really gets down to, it's not necessarily what you say anymore, because if you all got the great technical knowledge, and we all got the great products, and we got this. It's sort of, a lot of it has to do with how you say it. So anyway, dude, I could go on and on about sales because I love this stuff, but we did have a couple of posts this week. Well, first of all, man, what'd you do for the 4th?
Oh, we had a nice quiet 4th. It was kind of awkward because being on Tuesday, it really goes against the grain of, everything going on, interrupts the week from all the meetings, and everybody has to deal with the holiday schedule, so Monday was
weird as hell, wasn't it? It was so
sure
weird.
Was. Yeah. So we had kind of a choppy week. I mean, I enjoyed the time off. We had horrible weather. It rained every day, but the 4th, we had like a tsunami. It blew the tents down and just really roused up, everybody's outdoorness. In fact, it was disastrous. And we had we were dog sitting, so we had a nice little thing in the back. We were able to do some barbecuing, and then I had put the umbrella down up, whatever. So that, we're more concerned about not experiencing any loss in the rain. And the floods are incredible here in Pittsburgh. Our poor people are just getting, overwhelmed with these deluges of water. There's so much water coming down so fast. I think they said we had 3 inches of water in less than 2 hours, and an inch of water is worth of, like a foot of snow, and there's just nowhere for that kind of water. We just didn't ever perceive it. The Army Corps of Engineers that did all the drainage and all the assessments of, worst case scenario were woefully short. And so our major arteries are all these gigantic stores and parking lots are collecting flat layers of water and sending them down from all different directions, and they're converging on the major throughways coming up these parking malls, and going down into the main service areas and the highways, and they're coming down with 3-4 foot of water, smashing into cars and just doing bizarre things that we just nobody would ever expect it. And if you're driving down the road and get hit with a wall of water, the water has a force that we just don't, we can't, it's not like speed or anything where we can measure it by looking at it. It's just, it overwhelms you. It sneaks up on you. People are riding bikes in the water and getting thrown into rivers and just crazy stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what, with chaos comes opportunity, man. I think you ought to start a land water skiing company. Get a Jeep, put some ski ropes behind it, and start skiing people around Pittsburgh on the roads, buddy. All right, well,
I think moving to high grounds is the answer there.
Yeah, no, I got you. Well, all right, brother. Well, listen, what do we have up first this week, man?
All right, we'll turn the page here to the Control Trends posts. We had some very good posts, I thought, because, again, the world's on the move. And this was first one was from EasyIO. They were very happy to introduce.
Hang on, Kenny. EasyIO, IO.
The rules have changed.
The rules have changed.
So I picked it up this time. Last week was a little sluggish on it.
You did.
And never be surprised what Eric does. It's like you said. I really like that. Different isn't always better, but better is always different. I like that. I thought that was sort of really
It used
cool.
to be my pickup one back in the day.
It's your rep, baby. It's your rep.
It's got me 4 wives.
It's working. How's that working out for you? Anyhow,
What criteria are you using?
well, I don't know. I think we
All right,
better
buddy, hit the first
bounce.
post, man.
We'll bounce. Okay.
Okay.
The Simon Mahoney has 30 years of experience in the building automation industry, having worked around the world in the UK, Australia, and for the last 12 years in Asia. So this is a seasoned veteran coming into the EasyIO organization. He'll be based in Singapore, and he will lead the business development and marketing efforts in the Asian Pacific realm. So building distribution channels and creating market awareness are his 2 priorities, and he's going to make sure everybody's aware of the complete EasyIO product range, which is growing. And again, we will toot the horns of the people that are earning the passage. EasyIO has been on the move. To see them invest in such a a high-ranking executive that's going to go in and push, their total product line in that huge market. We wish him all the success. It's a very exciting opportunity. He says he's working with a company. This is what Simon says about EasyIO. He's working for a company at the forefront of technology innovation, and a company who recognizes and responds to the market's needs. So that's pretty awesome stuff. Well done.
Well, glad to hear that, because I tell you what, those guys are, we talk ad nauseum about their technology, Kenny, and they do such a great job with that and some of the new products they're coming out with. So good to see that. We're going to be hearing a lot more from Mike Marson and Lim Huchat and the boys at EasyIO. And again, if you get a chance to go to one of their global conferences, which we're really hoping next year will be in Rome, Mike Marston, Rome, Simon, Rome, Johan, Rome, Guido. That'd be great. I think if I got to take my wife to Rome, I think I would be out of the doghouse for at least a couple weeks after that. But yeah, good stuff there. What do we have up next, big dog?
Well, next is the first Vicon post. We have Vicon Enterprise Security 2.3 update available. We know Laura Cavett and the people there at Vicon, at Tritium Vicon, are working very, very hard to stay abreast of all the changes and keep incrementally improving and getting 3.8 U2 is available. And these updates are very important for the people in the security world. It's Vicon Enterprise Security, for those of us that know and have sold it, it's one of the most comprehensive, best-in-class access control systems, security systems that goes beyond just access control and CCTV. It's total integration, and they're wrapping this thing up that it's going to be coming out of the Jace 8000 core, or the Jace 8000 core. Jace will have all that in it, and you'll be seeing the security Jaces will change their face and format and come out as a Jace 8000. But you got a lot of great improvements, and congratulations. And for the people in the security world, if you sell security, it's a very difficult long sales cycle. But once you get it in, it is that total integration package that Roger Rebanak used to be so fond of saying, how it was this is the greatest innovation offering in the market, because it takes everything and makes it in one single pane of glass. So it's good stuff.
For our integrators out there who've got an opportunity to sell this product, you sort of alluded to the fact of what it does, but why is that necessarily better?
Well, the world has changed in our midst, and when you commit the resources, the limited amount of resources and professional time that you have, you've got to take the widest scoop of technology you can. So when you take your first step into innovation or into improving or taking what you have, your legacy system, and upgrading it, you've got to take a path that's going to give you as much future proof as possible and as much integration as possible. As we know, data is becoming paramount to success and efficiency and comfort. Well, how can you get that under one computer screen? How do you do that? Well, you have to have a platform, a framework, like the Niagara framework, that gives you that broadest access point, so that anything that happens from that point forward can be brought into the network, can be integrated, and can get to your greatest needs. I mean, what you want to do, we sit down with that question mark. I just had the opportunity to do it again. When we don't tell people what they need to hear, we ask them to tell us, what do you need? Where's your greatest pains? And what do you want to see happen? What's your time frame? Your year, your 5-year, your 15-year plan? And then we work backwards. We take what you have, your resources. We help you redistribute your efforts and your budgets to get to your first pain point first. But you've got to take the framework step first.
Well, I think too, and if you're interested, we had last week we had an interview that we had done at Ibicon, Realcom with Jason from HEPTA and John from Bedrock. And John is actually the operational guys, and Bedrock in Detroit has done the single pane of glass with multiple building sites. And if you really want to know the advantages of that, I encourage you to go back and listen to that interview if you haven't already, because you're hearing it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Not that you're a horse, John, but to really get that firsthand. Because, I think he probably blanched when somebody comes in and says, we're going to take all your systems, put them on one single pane of glass. Again, that's one of those things, kind of like my wife and her friend with bringing the 2 kids in. Sounds great in theory, but what's the practicality of it? And it was pretty cool to hear John's take on the practicality of it and what you need to know in terms of the kind of integrator you work with and stuff like that. So, what's up next, Big Doggy?
Well, next up, we have a good post here. We're back to the really good basics where we work in a world, again, we can make it as complicated as possible, or we could just talk, the most important stuff, and that's the moving air and water effectively through a building for maximum comfort, for maximum efficiency, and how can you do that? Well, Belimo, a company that's just been, again, another one on the move with technology and commitment to improvement. I think Belimo has the benefit of specializing in certain areas. They specialized in valving, and they really got down deep into how water and steam moves through pipes, and they brought a lot of European innovation and serviced it well to the North American market, primarily with the direct coupled actuators and then with valving. So I think, by having that specificity, I know you're not going to let that thing run.
Oh, I'm definitely letting it run, buddy, because I want to hear you try to say it again.
Specificity.
Just say, hey, focus on a specific part of the business. Try that.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for making me look so good in front of our
I can't say
community.
Specificity either.
And I'll get you back, baby.
No, I can't say specificity. I can't say specificity. See, I can't do it either. I love the fact you tried, but let's keep on, buddy. We can do this.
Well, one thing good about this is good opportunities to get you back. So it's all right. No, I'm kidding. Anyhow, the real reality is this: they show a picture of a city and the metropolitan area, and you have these little orange Belimo clouds above these giant facilities with multiple floors and just incredible flow of water, and then of course air, and the way they control it and how they are leveraging IT, and they're solving the hardest problem is low delta T. So Belimo has gone through extenuated efforts to get the industry excited and knowledgeable about their products. And now that they're including the IoT stuff, this data is all available all the time, and it really brings efficiencies, on a new scale. So,
well, yeah, you can't. Look, this product is a passion product for me. I think this is the coolest product in our industry, one of the best kept secrets. And yeah, the fact that you can get the data out of it now is really cool. But whether you get the data or not, what this thing essentially does. All right, so let's go back to designing a building. So you're a consulting engineer. You got to design the equipment in a building, right? So typically the way they do that is we use degree days, right? So we're going to size the boiler for the coldest day of the year to make sure we have enough heating on the coldest day of the year, right? We're going to size the chillers for the hottest day of the year to make sure we have enough cooling for the hottest day of the year, right? And then we're going to add about a 30% fudge factor in there just to make sure that we got enough, because, if you undersize something, that's career ending decision. But, if you oversize it, well, that's just an energy thing, and, but the customer's happy. So by with the Belimo energy valve, among other things, and where I think we're missing the opportunity is if you design this in on a job, right, up front and put these valves in, you are going to have smaller piping, smaller boilers, smaller chillers, because basically what it does is it controls, like you said, the delta T in such a way that your boiler, your chiller can run much, much more efficiently, and you get the benefit of having great temperature controls. We got tons of videos on Control Trends talking about specifically how this works. But if you don't need specificity on this, I
looked this up. It's specificity.
You couldn't let it go, could you?
Specificity.
All right, so Kenny got it. Specificity. So,
damn it.
But if you want specificity on this, you can just go. We got a bunch of. But it's a cool product, and you got to check out. Nobody makes anything like this in the industry, and I think, Kenny, that leads us right into our Mark Jewell. We have a post here that has the link where you can use to register and get the get the discount. And so if you need to know how to sell an energy valve, Mark can help you out with that. And then that brings us to one of my favorite subjects, the women in the controls industry. So talk about that, Kenny.
Yeah, well, the women and HVAC are on the move. Got some great organizational events coming up, and there's seats now available for the 2017 WHVACR conference. It's filling fast. This is a nice conference. It's going to be held at the Elizabeth. It's going to be held registered today, Fort Worth, Texas. But what they're really excited about was, and what's really cool was the speaker that they have. This woman is a vet. She's a pilot, helicopter pilot, and now that she's taken she's going to be doing the cornerstone speech. She's got Elizabeth McCormick topic, you in the pilot seat. As a former U.S. Black Hawk pilot, Elizabeth flew command and air assaults, repelling top secret intelligence missions, and also transported high-level government VIPs, including the Secretary of Defense. So what she's going to do now is not only just show the incredible role that the women now perform in the military, but also take that and transition to the women in HVACR. And they've got a very strong agenda, and they're looking for presenters and sponsors. So, it's one of those ones where the more you contribute, the more you get out of it. It's going to be in a great location, and congratulations to the women in the HVACR.
No, it sounds really cool, Kenny. I'd like to go there. And if you want more specificity on that, you can just go click on the link.
Specificity.
And, speaking of great women in the industry, and, we've talked a lot about the need to attract talent in our industry. A special shout out again to Renee Joseph, who was Control Trends Woman of the Year this year. So good stuff there. And we'll have that category again coming up next year. So we'll look forward to seeing who wins the next Woman of the Year at Control Trends Awards. And Kenny, all you need is love, or Lucy in the sky with diamonds. What do we have up next, big dog?
You're in a musical mood today. It's good to see you.
Because my wife and her friend and the 4 kids are not in the house. I have to savor this moment, man.
Nice. Yeah. Well, this is one of those, just kind of one of my favorite posts, because this is one of those ones where you get to kill 3 birds with one stone. We were out there to see the EZIO the global conference, the partner conference in Manchester, and we were able to do a couple forays into Scotland, saw the Scottish Enlightenment, and then the second one, part B, was to go to Liverpool and really, truly walk the streets, visit the buildings, and actually visit the first the spot where Lennon and McCartney first met and played, which was at St. James Church. And if you go to the post and you see the Control Trends Beatle Tour video and you watch it, it's about 9 minutes long, and it shows you some of the great places. Lennon's house, McCartney's house, Strawberry Fields, the Eleanor Rigby Cemetery, the actual gravestone where Paul McCartney got that name from. So it's just really good, but it lended itself very readily to what we were there for, and that was Renaissance, change, synergies, and when you get good people coming together, they make incredible stuff happen. But it was a change. They were taking all the inputs that they heard from England, the skiffle bands, and then they had rock and roll coming over, and they heard Chuck Berry, and they heard Elvis, and bingo, they put all that synergy, or that all those different variables that they liked about it, and created their own form of rock and roll.
Kenny, one of the rules of creativity, right, and all the great creative geniuses, there's a saying that a lot of people just say, well, I'll just come in and I'll just create something new. But all the great creativity, to be creative, first thing you have to do is you have to learn the rules. You have to perfect your craft, which the Beatles did. And once you know the rules, then you can break them. But I got to compliment you, Kenny. That video was one of the most fun things we did, and that was you absolutely your best, man. I tell you what, because you were so into the Beatles, and you did such a great job. But we went to all the different spots, but you had the history down. It was a fun video to do, and kudos to you, buddy, because you really, really did a fantastic job with that.
Well, I actually have to, you were always musically inclined. In fact, that was your forte. If anybody ever visited you and saw your studio, you still have, 2 guitars in there?
Dude, I listen.
I got
to tell you my most embarrassing moment ever. You want to hear my most embarrassing moment ever? So sure. I go to college, believe it or not, I had really long hair, and I decided, I want to be a musician. So I thought I was Jimi Hendrix. I had all the Jimi Hendrix clothes, the flower church and all that stuff. So So I decided I'm going to take a music theory class, right? So, I walk into this place and, there are probably 80, 90, 100, 120, maybe a couple hundred people that are in the class. It's this auditorium style type thing, right? So anyway, I look around and I find the best looking girl in the place and I make somebody move so I can sit next to her. And, and she kind of I look at her and says, so you into music? She goes, yeah, and I said, what about you? I said, yeah, I'm a rock star. She goes, what? Yeah. Play guitar and sing, be like Jimi Hendrix. She goes, oh, that's really cool. So then the music professor comes in. He's got this crazy ass hair, right? He comes running in. He goes, okay, we're going to sing a song. So we start, we pull out this sheet of music. I can't carry a tune. And look at the music. And all of a sudden, he gets this frustrated look on his face. Whoa. He goes, okay, row 10, sing this. And they sing it and I think I'm on like row 5. He gets to row 5. He goes, holy shit. Okay. And he didn't say that. He goes, okay. Whoa. It's row 5. Okay. All right. You sing it. He gets to me and he goes, no, hit this note. And then he goes, starts trying to find a note I'm singing. And he goes, I can't even find a note on the piano you're singing. Well, what are you doing? And you made me stand up to do this. So I'm turning 10 shades of red. So finally he goes, we got some work to do. So anyway, I sat down. This girl looks over me and goes, rock star, huh? I got like a B+ in that class. If I could have hit one note, I would have gotten an A in it. I mean, I understood the theory of it, but anyway, I digress. But hey, speaking of a guy who is absolutely fearless and unafraid to put himself in situations like I just did, tell us about our friend Fearless Phil Zito and what the hell he's got going on now.
Well, as you know, there's everybody's taking advantage of this technology we have, and Phil's one of those guys whose profession makes him learn in depth, take deep dives into everything, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's IT. And I think he did it professionally, and probably first of all curiosity himself, because he probably is that type of person that has to know how this stuff works. And then once he knows how it works, he uses that in his profession and provides different organizations and companies this professional know-how and safeguards them against different things and explains it to their organization, and probably does a great deal of troubleshooting and engineering. But he's taken it one step further, and he's making it available to the BAM community, Building Automation Monthly, and he's getting quite a following, and he takes on now greater strides. So he's doing these live seminar, webinar / streaminars, and I think he had a faux pas. He was talking for 90 minutes, he said, and his audio wasn't on.
I hate it when that happens. Hate it when that happens.
Phil. It's a drag, but it will happen. And you will have your moments. If you're going to play with fire, you will get burned. And but at the heart and soul of his attitude is that he's really given a lot to the community. He's asking for participation. He's going, he's asking people to commit. He's going to give away things if you're willing to work with him and be, as he develops his style and his approach. His first class gets to go free, basically, I understand. But he's talking about IT and OT.
No, Kenny. The way it works is you get to go free if you listen to the version that doesn't have the audio on it. You want the audio, you have to pay.
That's extra. No, I'm sorry, Phil. We're just messing around with you a little
bit.
We're just
messing with you, Phil.
But he has some really good, technical information that he shares, and really he's doing a good job, and he works, I think, very well, and he's global too. He's getting a lot of following from I believe India and Western Europe, and he's working with a lot of high level people, but he's also willing to work with entry level people, and that's where I think he's aiming for. He's aiming for people that if they got to come on board somewhere and increase their how fast they learn something, he's got something that can help them. So
in this particular webinar he did was how to communicate with IT people, which is something that every building automation controls person needs to know how to do. So I think that actually took place on Friday, was it, Kenny? So you probably go to the BAM thing, and he's probably got it up where you can download it and listen to it if you missed it, would be my guess. But he's definitely worth checking out, Fearless Phil Zito. Give him a shout and check him out. And man, so we got great teachers to great products. Our friend Mark Peacock, who rocked New York City with you back in the 80s with Bianca Jagger and all those people at Studio 54 and Electric Banana, has a new product. Can he tell us about his new product?
Well, he sure did. Mark, he's a Madison Avenue expert. He came right out of the cradle of marketing is New York, Madison Avenue, and that Mark
He's such a cool dude.
We walked through
isn't
New
he?
York, and he's pointing at the buildings. He's telling us, you eat over here. This is where this is your typical cycle in an afternoon. Get to work.
And then me and Cindy Crawford, we first made out here, and then I was hanging out with Bianca Jagger over here, and then I had to punch Mick Jagger in the face here, and then John Lennon and I were over here. Yeah, Marcus.
And then he went
dude.
then he went to watch the Giants play. His favorite team is the New York Giants.
There you go.
And boy, if you want to get in an argument about football and who's the best quarterback, say something negative about the New York Giants.
Well, and if you look at this new Edge controllers, it looks an awful lot like New York Giant Blue to me. What about
it does.
Yeah.
Good observation. Yeah. Well, this to take this thing to the new, we talk about IoT, we talk about deployment, we talked about the cloud and how everything was important to get to the cloud, data and streaming to the cloud, different levels of the cloud now. As Ken St. Clair put out, we're going to be talking to a gentleman who's going to explain how cloud now is stratified, just like the Cirrus, Nimbus, and different levels. That inside the cloud, even there's going to be differentiation of how far and how close you need to be to it. But the time it takes to get that information back. So now we're seeing a surge towards edge devices, edge controllers that have ported Niagara in it, which means that some of the incredible features and benefits of Niagara, particularly with the integration, interoperability, data access, and analytics being available at the edge. So just a quick feature benefit review of the Genesis Edge 534 controller. It's a Niagara Edge controller. It has a 34 I/O on board. It utilizes the same Pro Builder workbench, software tools, and Fox protocol. Leverages your application library, leverages your Niagara investment, integrates with Niagara Fox, BACnet, Modbus, etc. No retraining required. There's about 10 more features in here. So I'm telling you, for the bang for the buck, these guys have put something out there to the market that's very formidable and very competitive.
Well, Kenny, I don't expect anything less from Mark Peacock and Terry Swope and the boys at Link Spring. So good stuff there. And, staying right on the Niagara theme here. We posted an interview that our friend Jerry did at Realcom Ibicon with Tritium's Jim Bland. And Jim is sort of in this video explains how what he sees in terms of how Tritium's going to participate in the IoT, and we call it the Smart Building Controls Renaissance. So definitely worth checking that out. And then finally, Kenny, our good friend Eugene Mazzo and the team at DG Logic has rolled out some updates to Project Assist. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I'm really glad to see those guys. They were probably so busy when they first, got taken over by Acuity that they've finally been able to do, some more homework and more investment of time and energy to improve an already amazing product. We knew that Project Assist was very successful, and DG Logic is one of the industry favorites. And what they did was so good with data that they're not just about graphics and they're not just about presentation anymore. I mean, we got our education on graphics and how the human mind works and how visualization is so critical from DG Logic. We got to see, behind the curtains of how they work and how astute they were with, and how much research they did to make their product. The product is obviously so successful. They eventually, succeed to be bought out by a major global corporation, and they took the talent that they had inside DG Logic and they pointed it different directions so that they went into a hospital market. They talked about data probably on the earliest, when people just started talking about data and the impact and how you got to get beyond just buildings, get beyond building automation into the incredible opportunities that data has for our day-to-day living. And we saw a lot of that down at Project Haystack. Well, these guys now have circled back. We got a nice video post, on the facility management software Project Assist 2.0, and then we highlight what they've done in the new release. So they rolled out a major significant update to Project Assist 2.0. It enhances the performance of the development experience, the end user experience, and they have given more increased support for Niagara 4. The update includes schedule interface, enhanced support for Niagara 4, touch-friendly enhancements, better mobile experience for the alarming in Niagara 4, new widgets, BQL grid, control widgets have been added such as slider, toggle, and switch, custom applications on any widget, data actions, navigations, hyperlinks, and the ability to duplicate templates and performance improvements and bug fixes, all contained inside the new rollout to Project Assist 2.0.
thing I like about those guys, Kenny, they are so cool. We called them the Men in Black because when we first met Eugene and Dennis and Arthur and the rest of them, man, they were always look sharp. They're always wearing black. I saw something I thought I would never see when they were acquired by Acuity. And I don't remember not we're at the haystack meeting. Now these guys still look sharp, Kenny. They still look sharp, but they were wearing blue. They weren't wearing black. I mean that to me was a defining moment in the annals of control history. Annals.
Let's
get more specific. Can you be more specific? Yeah, there you go. I did that on purpose. I'm giving you a setup shot.
Specificity.
That's the vocab word of the day for the control trends community. Specificity. Phil Zito can say that.
Specificity.
Yeah, Phil Zito. Yeah, I've heard his webinar. He uses that word on every webinar he has. Very specificity. That's his thing. All right, buddy. Well, listen. Anything else before we hop off here?
No, Eric, that's it. I'll tell you, we got got more planned for next week. One thing that's just absolutely amazing about our industry is it does not rest for a minute. We have Steve Guzalimian from Optergy lined up for next week. I believe we have. We're trying to get Josh Brashaw to commit. We've got Ken St. Clair has given us 2 or 3 really good leads for next week. In fact, we just got Ken just poked fun at us with an email here, but he just another hats off to Ken St. Clair. We got some good feedback from his July edition, and he was talking about this gentleman Toby. I'm going to bring it real quick because I want to let everybody know some good stuff that's coming up. But this gentleman's name is Toby. Ken.
Constantine.
Yeah, I don't want to say it wrong. So that sounds right though. Yeah, Constantine. But the bottom line is that we're now getting in. Ken says you guys need to interview Toby to clear your fog. This could be fun because he has a great sense of humor, but he's complex but deep. But he really lets you know how we're probably operating what he calls in the small scale intelligence level. And then he's going to introduce patchy fog, mist, or just fog into a real serious
Hang on, Kenny. Now, Ken, our buddy Otto is not dissing us. He's talking about the small intelligence. Listen, I think
he put a smile. He put the eyeball and a smile after it.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
But he said what we got is that there's so much more. And then, I wrote back saying, if this stuff continues, basically what we're doing is we're putting all our chips on artificial intelligence, not sure about it all. It's amazing, but to what end, we don't have a finish line. So the path of evolution is preparing us for the next path of extinction. What do you do with 7 people when you don't need them to do anything? Because AI and it's all its effort to be the best God and money, best God, man, money can buy. So we were teasing each other about where if we keep up at this pace and the things we saw at Realcomm, we don't have a role. And we'll go back to your story where 10% of the world's population goes to work and 90% of it's paid to stay home and stay in your virtual world and consume your nutrients as you're programmed to do.
What Kenny's referring to real quick is if you think about one definition of technology, one practical definition of technology is being able to come up with a piece of technology and what it took 10 people to do, now it takes 2 people to do. And my premise all along has been that, and people have argued, well, it'll just create more jobs, but now you got, technology that's programming and building the technology. So my premise is at some point in time, technology is going to eat itself and there's just not going to be enough work for people. There's going to be plenty of supply and not enough. Plenty of supply but no way to pay for it. So we get paid to stay at home.
Well, and then Ken counters that. He says, I'm sure that the first folks that saw a steam shovel or electricity or a computer or electric self-driving car said the same thing and had the same concerns and paranoias. So
but think about how many cowboys got put out of business and how many horses and how many buggies. Yeah, it gets back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, Kenny. Are they structural changes or are they cyclical changes? And I think this IoT is a structural change. Think about if you could have the best typewriter in the world, but when that first computer came out, the writing was on the wall, right? And think about now how many people that were professional typists just got extincted because of the computer. But we could go on and on about that, Kenny. But before we do, you brought up a really good point. which is, guest on the show. Where if you want to be a guest on Control Trends, we'd love to have you. I'd tell you to go to our controltrends@gmail account, but I'm locked out of it, so I can't get in. So if you've been sending emails to controltrends@gmail.com, so sorry, we can't get that. So the best way to connect with us right now is just leave a note and comment, and we'll track you down. But if you got something to say, we'd love to have you on the show. We'd actually like to have this show where we had 2 or 3 guests every episode. Not that, because, Kenny and I like to talk, but that's not necessarily good for you folks. So if you don't like what Kenny and I say, come on and be a guest. Right?
Well, and too, plus we're it's July. At the end of July, guess what we start doing, Eric? We start preparing for the Control Trends Awards 2017. So
we're going to do that again?
Well, yeah, we've already got a date, January 21st in Chicago at the Hard Rock Cafe, and it's going to be a great time. We have a much modified location, so we're not going to have as many people. Yeah, so all the seats you can see right on top of the stage, but it won't be. It's not big like Orlando, where we had a big theater environment, and Las Vegas was more of a nightclub environment. This is probably more in a nightclubish environment for watching a group and entertainment. So again, we won't have as much room, but I just want to cycle back to Toby Considine, and he's TC9 Inc. And he's a contributing editor to AutomatedBuildings.com, and it's got he's been contributing some great mind stuff for a long time to Ken. So he's
got a great reputation. I very much appreciate you and getting the Control Trends community more specificity about Toby Considine. So specificity.
Right.
Speaking of specificity, oh yeah, okay. Well, all right. We'll put that down in the great annals of Control Trends lore, right?
Why not?
All right, buddy. Well, listen, I tell you what, we got to hop off. I got to go take care of 4 kids, not 2. And so, buddy, listen, thanks so much to our Control Trends committee. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. I hope you have a marvelous week. And we'll check you out next week on Control Talk. Now your smart building is a video cast and podcast. Until then, be bold, stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed. Kenny Smash. All right, brother. Have a very specificity.
Yeah, you're right. That was a bad idea, but I wanted to say it.